Here, Ventura.
I'm sorry, say it again.
The Barbareño Ventureño Band of Mission Indians.
Okay, okay, she can say it. Okay.
Golden
Okay, she's somebody, attached to somebody, so, okay. So, I guess that's out. Anything else, Larry, that you can think of that we've missed or anything?
Anybody that leaves early, the donation box.
Oh, yes, okay, yeah. The city provides us no money here to support the museum other than pay our water bill and light bill. But donations are greatly appreciated. That's how we maintain these functions for the community at such a low and reduced price. So your donations are appreciated, and they'll be used directly to support the museum. We don't support anybody else because we don't have anything else to support. So,
We pass the hat at the end.
oh yes, okay. Well, we'll pass the hat around at the end and everything. But I want to again thank you all for coming, and hopefully this will be very enlightening and kind of give us an insight on what's going on here. So
That's it.
you're welcome. Now, thank you.
Thank you. All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Washachi Shao, good day in Chumash, Ventureño Chumash. Washachi Shao. Samtane, Eleanor Arellanes. My name is Eleanor Arellanes Fishburne. I am a descendant from various villages all here in Chumash territory, from San Luis Obispo down to Santa Monica Mountains. And I'm going to share about the Chumash today, where we're at today, where we were yesterday, and where we're headed with the future. So, our tribe, the Barbareño Ventureño Band of Mission Indians, we participate in, we gather, we consult, we're active in the community. We are collaborating at this point with Cal State University Channel Islands, and actually the goal is to have a cultural center with Chumash studies as a minor, Native American studies. So right now we're on the grassroots of planning, and it's very exciting. I am applying to there next week, which is even more exciting. I'm going to go on to get my bachelor's in archaeology, which has to do where we are going with as a tribe today as well. So approximately 8 years ago, well, actually way before this particular land in this area right here, you see the condos all around it. This land was sold from the Hueneme Ranch and was purchased by some developers who started developing, making those condos, and some very sacred items were found on this property. So back then, there was all kinds of cultural items found, and a few of them were headed to the Ventura Museum. A lot of them were lost, not accountable for. There was no records, no accountability for anything that came out of this land. So in the midst of all this findings at this particular lot of property, nobody wanted anything to do with it, and it's just too sensitive. We got to get on, we got to move on, we got to develop condos, we need money. So being that San Ynez is the only federally recognized tribe amongst the Chumash, they were consulted and wanted to know, and the city and the county agencies wanted to know what we wanted to do with this land, what they wanted to do. And they, well, we're not interested in it. We don't. What are we going to do with it? We're way up here. We got enough going on. So In the meantime, their chairperson contacted our chairperson and they discussed what was going on. Our tribe went ahead and put together a letter to the local agencies and governments and said that we were interested in this land. Upon the proposals put in, it was stated that this land would just be given as part of the development, part of the mitigations, part of the talk that went on. So San Ynez didn't want to have anything to do with it. We submitted a note to governments, a letter, and we were, I want to say appointed, awarded, given. We were presented with this land. So this is the first time in local government history that they have given back some land to the natives. So we're very proud of that. This is the place that was talked about in Harrington's notes, Satakoy, which means shelter from the wind. Springs, wells came up all over this area. It was really sacred. There's where we have had ceremony on the property. We have the Conservation Corps come and help us clean it out, you know, do the county good stewards of taking care of the land and preventing forest fires. And we've also, you know, have our linguist here, Dr. Timothy Henry, who right now, he had a lecture up at Oak Brook, and I went and listened to him Tuesday night, and he's about ready to get our Ventura dictionary published. So that's a process, so we're very, very excited about that. And then we have Matthew Vestudo, who has worked very diligently with J.P. Harrington's notes and is involved with advocates for indigenous California languages and has Chumash as one of those languages. So we're very fortunate to, as a tribe, to be working on those issues today and moving forward. So the Chumash, we lived a peaceful life as hunters and gatherers. And like I mentioned before, Chumash are noted to San Luis Obispo, down through Santa Monica Mountains, out to the Channel Islands, as well as the inland interior, Cuyama, on around through like Highway 5, Bakersfield, on in that way. So we covered quite a bit of the territory here. You know, oftentimes going to live with our native tribes, the Yokuts. You know, a lot of the Harrington's notes do have a lot of information on the Yokuts, the Tillamook, and different tribes. So we were, you know, in the midst of them. It was very, very peaceful existence. So we made our homes at the mouth of the rivers to the ocean. Fish was plentiful, fresh water, seawater, reeds, food. You know, where else could you live in such glory and beauty? Santa Clara River and Ventura rivers are the ones that ran through Ventura. So we Chumash are and still a peaceful, friendly nation. You know, we went out and we greeted the foreigners who were on expedition to find new land and claim as their own. And you know, we greeted them. We wanted to trade with them. We introduced ourselves, our culture. We made ourselves vulnerable. So after they found out what a beautiful area this was, and they claimed the coast to what is now California, they sent word back to the Spanish prince and princess, queen and king, And they came back and took over our land in the thoughts of converting us heathens into Christians. Yes. Having us assimilate, into their way of living, making us neophytes, taking away our culture, our way of land, our way of life. So amongst all that chaos and tragedy that was happening, the Spanish did go ahead and document each Indian that came into the mission system. They gave them a name. They took away their Chumash name, gave them a Spanish name. And amongst baptismal, they did document their name and they gave them a baptismal number. So this particular one, this is, the Spanish, they did what they had to do or did what they did. But if I can say something that's nice or considerate, that they did do some good documenting. They did leave these documents so that we are able today to find out who we are, where we come from, what we did, and how we lived. So this one is baptismal number 1233. Her name is Carolina Arellanes. That is my great aunt. Tia Carolina is my grandfather's sister, who is Barbareño Chumash. So not only is my family from Ventura, but also Barbareño Chumash from my grandfather's side. And it says here, I had to learn to read Spanish for a minute, but in 1892, on the 3rd day of October, Tia Carolina was born. And she was baptized. She was a legitimate girl from Jose E. Arellanes and Francisca Martinez. Jose Arellanes comes from Texas, I believe on that way. Francisca Martinez is the Chumash. So, and my Tia Carolina's padrinos, godparents, were Teodoro Ortega and Menciata Martinez. Okay, so we get a little history of when Tia Carolina was born. But not only that, Tia Carolina ended up being married to Agustin Mendoza in 1910. So they went back and we were able to keep track of the marriages. And after he passed on, she married Adolfo Lopez from San Ynez on August 5th, 1947. And what's so interesting about this is that I have a picture of Adolfo Lopez and my Tia Carolina when my grandmother passed away. They came from San Ynez to my grandmother's funeral. And I was sharing it. I'm on the Santa Barbara Museum Indian Advisory Board. So I was sitting there with, a group of us, Chumash, meet at the museum from San Luis Obispo, the San Ynez tribe, Santa Barbara, and the Ventura tribe. We all meet every quarter at the museum. So I had these pictures, and they were on the table. And one of the ladies from San Ynez was looking at the pictures, and she goes, "Oh my gosh." She says, "That's my grandpa." She goes, "Oh, my grandpa was married to her grandpa was married to my great aunt. That's Tia Carolina." So this is like something that is still happening. We are still working to find out all our connections and our kinships. They're happening today, and it's exciting. It's exciting. So in 1999, I worked on a project with the National Park Service in collaboration with the Santa Barbara Museum of Natural History and the Mission Records there at Santa Barbara. What we did is we went through San Luis Obispo's Mission Records, San Fernando's, Santa Barbara's, La Purissima's, and San Ynez. So we went through all the primary documents from those missions, compiled it in a database, and the National Park Service was able to put together a book for, it's the Chumash lineal descents, the Chumash lineal descents of, the lineal descent, wait, let me see here, what that name was all. It's in the card. It's Chumash lineal, it's put together all the Chumash that can trace all their lineal descentage from the area as we did with this one. So the National Park Service, in collaboration with Santa Barbara Museum of Natural History, and also after going through the diaries and primary sources of anthropologists such as J.P. Harrington, Robert Heiser, Al Kroeber, and J.E. Gould. We went through their mission records, and with the baptismal records, we were able to compile that book for the National Park Service, which was in compliance with the Native American Graves Protection Repatriation Act. Yeah, that's what we're dealing with the government these days, okay? And my cousin Julie is working very hard at it. That's why she doesn't do this stuff anymore. She kind of passed off the baton because she's dealing with state and federal stuff now. So, part of these, this is a famous picture. This is Juan de Jesus, which is my great-great-grandfather. He was interviewed by J.E. Gould, and back in 1887. This is where this primary document was found up at UC Berkeley, and he was interviewed, like I said, by Gould in 1887, but in Santa Barbara. So it was interesting, the history of Ventura wasn't even a county or a city back. We were all Santa Barbara at one time. So, and we lived, imagine where Taylor Ranch is, the Rincon. That's where we were, right there at the mouth of the river. And so Santa Barbara was a dirt road. My dad used to tell me stories when they'd go visit family that he couldn't go. Him and his brothers couldn't go. They only took the girls because going on the 101 there by La Conchita, it was dirt and mud, and the car couldn't be too heavy, and so, they were traveling, my family was traveling back and forth back then. So, and this is my great aunt, who is Juan de Jesus' daughter, and a lot of people don't realize that he did have a daughter. They only know Cecilio, here of Cecilio Tumamite. But this is Cecilio's sister, and she also was interviewed by Gould. So with these informants, this is how we're able to revitalize our language. These little snippets here helped, Professor Henry put all his data and his information together. Also, other informants were Rosario Cooper. She is Obispeño Chumash. And Luisa Ignacio. She is the last Barbareño linguist speaker in Santa Barbara. She knew the language, I don't know fluently, but a large percentage of it. This is Cecilio Tumamaya, and going over those documents and those records, we were able to see where he was, he talked to the anthropologist, and Maria as well, Basilia, my great-grandmother. And then this is Juan Justo. So we're able to put this information together. We've got the mission records from the Spanish. We've got the notes from the diaries of the Spanish and all those that traveled through. We've got the notes from the Padres. We've got the anthropologist notes as they spoke with the Chumash. And I gotta give honor and respect to Quetzalcoatl, which is Fernando Lebrado. And he is the one that really gave a lot of his time to J.P. Harrington in sharing our Chumash culture and history. And that's where we're able today to be able to revitalize it. So, in where we are at today, in 1990, there was that federal law passed through the U.S. Department of Interior, which was the Native American Graves Protection Repatriation Act, otherwise known as NAGPRA, which determines cultural affiliation amongst the tribes, which, as I was stating earlier with the National Park Service, this is one of, and they're federal, this is their primary document that they used a lot too in the area when they need consultations to follow these guidelines and what they need to do to work communicatively with the Chumash. The book is The Cultural Affiliation of Lineal Descent of the Chumash Peoples. So, however, San Ynez is the only federally recognized tribe in this area. And they're a government-to-government entity who works with the National Park Service and other government entities. So the criteria for federal recognition, which was one of our tribal goals, right here. There's 7 of them. And we actually, you know, first of all, I don't know if anybody's ever dealt with the federal government. I think we all are right now, one way or the other, spiritually, emotionally, or physically. But you know, it's hard. It costs money. Unfortunately, we were stripped of, you know, a lot of our culture, and we cannot trace the continuity of community in this area. And that's one of the biggest ones. And when we did live in this area, were we keeping notes? Were we, yes?
Did the mission people keep records of the Chumash original name when they baptized them?
Yes, yes, they are, yeah. The original names are on the baptismal
So
records.
you could go back and...
Yeah, and rename them. Name them to the original names, yeah. So, so we have, and I asked, actually yesterday we met with Cal State University Channel Islands, and we were discussing the federal recognition process. And one of our tribal members asked our tribal chair, so Julie, what about our federal recognition progress? You know, and we could show the continuity of community. I mean, look, my great-great-grandfather was the first, was one of the first Indians in the Indian orchestra playing the violin. You know, he was very active in the Chumash community, the alcalde. He was, you know, the go-between the Padres and the neophytes, or Chumash. So, you know, there's that continuity right there. He had his children, you know, and his children had the children, and we're still all right there. But there's this little gap that this little window where we have a hard time proving the continuity, you know. And I know a lot of my family, we followed the, you know, we followed the fruit, we followed the work. So a lot of them ended up in different areas as well. So there's, you know, different readings and different things, you know, and it's who knows if it'll happen, you know, who knows? We're putting it out there, we'll see. So the state of California right now has approximately 109 federally recognized tribes. There could be more. This was put out by the Department of Finance probably about maybe 10 years ago. And I know one more, the Tejon tribe, has also been federally recognized since then. So needless to say, the Barbareño and Ventura Band of Mission Indians here are not federally recognized at this point. However, we are band together and we are state recognized. So this is our logo.
What would they call you if you do get recognition?
What?
If you do get recognition, what will be the name?
Will be the same.
Just Chumash, Ventura?
Uh-huh. Like the Chumash San Ynez.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, along with us not being, you know, federally recognized, we are state recognized. But, you know, that still doesn't keep us from NACRA. NACRA also works with federally recognized and non-federally recognized tribes. I was out in fact, we were out in Santa Rosa Island about a couple months ago. I was out there doing some monitoring because some cultural items were found. So I went out and cultural items, a cultural affiliation, you know, between the present day Indian tribe are like human remains, funerary objects, sacred objects, or objects of patrimony in an earlier group. So that's what kind of still keeps us out there making a presence, because there's still laws that need to be followed, NACRA, you know, and federally. And trust me, I see that the National Park Service does not want to get in trouble with that. So in 1997 or 1970, original law, the California Environmental Quality Act came into play, which is CEQA, which the purpose of CEQA is to disclose to the public the significant environmental facts of a proposed discretionary project through the preparation of an initial study, negative declaration, or environmental impact report. So this is causing us to have more of a relationship with our local governments, with the developers. You know, we look at the land. I don't know how many have been born and raised in this area. You know, the rivers, what was the Oxnard flatlands, the sugar beets, the citrus, the strawberries. You know, this whole environment was nothing but open land. And these laws are protecting, as the development increases, and we get more compact and more compact and more compact, that before a developer can put anything in the ground, before the planning commission, they need to put into place a protocol for the acts, for this Environmental Quality Act. They need to put all this information into play, consult with the local tribe, and see how that we have input, we have say now on what will happen to this land should they dig something up. Actually, we are out there watching as they are digging. You know, these agencies, these developers put a letter together. They contact the Native American Heritage Commission, who now is under law with the AB 52, which is under CEQA, to contact tribes. So you could go ahead, at one time, anybody was able to go ahead, call Native American Heritage Commission and say, yes, I am Chumash, I want to be on the most likely descendant list. I come from here, I come from there. Call me in case anything is found on this property. So that's what's happened with a lot of our artifacts. All willy-nilly, people are just coming out, standing there saying, I'm Chumash, they're digging up this and they're, taking it home. And we've lost, that's, back before all this was into play, and I was talking about Satapoy, we don't know what happened to those artifacts. So this is what's happening now. So, they go ahead and they send us notices because now the laws are we have to register as a tribe. So us tribal members that are interested in cultural resources put our name on the list with the okay of our tribal chairperson, because she is the most likely descendant. When there are human remains found, she goes out and identifies them and works with the coroner and the various agencies on where to house these. So that's what we're out there now, the Heritage Commission sending us notices, and we are consulting with these land agencies. And as this is how we're, this is based on all the information that we have accumulated. This is where we're at today. Preservation of our culture, of our ancestors, of our language. After we all know the history, and we all know that it's ugly. And I personally don't want to be mad anymore. I don't want to be angry. I want to rise up, beat them at the game. Beat them, but just be right there with them. This is where we're at today for our future. This is my dad, my grandson, my granddaughter, and my son, my grandson. There he is, right there, out there at a site at the mission. He also is, I passed off the torch to him. He is a true member of the city of Ventura. They had the bicentennial, the 150th celebration. He was given the key to the county. So in 50 years, he can stand up on the stage and show his key that he is still the Chumash that is here 50 years later. Yeah. So I'm very proud of him, yes. And he likes gemology. So yeah, that's my future. That's our future. And this is our tribal chair, Julie, with her son, Aaron, who is also, and her daughter's also. So we are working diligently as we can to protect what's left of our culture and to share it and have our children carry on the torch. So I want to share a little bit about these panels right here. So part of the NACPRA program was taken advantage of by Caltrans. And all the work that they did up there on the freeways. In fact, I want to introduce Brian to you. Brian is an anthropologist, right? Archaeologist that worked on this project as well, right?
A little bit.
Yeah. So stand up, and he works very closely with us. And I want to go ahead and have him stand up and share a little bit about a little bit of the project that you did while you were out here. And we appreciate archaeologists like Brian, who have the heart after our people, who treat our items with respect that they deserve, And there's a few of them out there that we work really close with, and I just want to thank you, Brian, for all the work that you've done. Brian was out there after me at Santa Rosa Island, so he's in there, we're in there.
Right. Well, Eleanor was far too kind. I did not do that much on this project, but
That's okay.
I did work with Caltrans and with John Johnson at the museum in Santa Barbara to kind of document the history of the Cuyama Valley. Most people don't know where Cuyama is and have never been there, even if they do. So it was a fascinating project. I mean, to be able to link our culture to the time when it was marshland before water was pumped out was really incredible. I would urge you to read the little book that they have for sale at the Museum of Natural History. It's fascinating. But like Eleanor said, I'm an archaeologist. In Santa Barbara and down in Los Angeles, I'm also a member of the Arellanes Chumash. So,
Yep, all right.
thank you.
Anything else you'd like to share?
No, not at the present moment.
So are you sending this, Chumash?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's even better. Oh my gosh, see? We're stepping up our game. I'll borrow some books. So they collaborated, I worked on that project as well, and, collaborated with Caltrans. And because I have descendants that come from the villages in Cuyama, from the village of Wasna, from the village of Scaliwakilimu, and I want to ask John Johnson says it totally different. So on down to Julie and to my dad. So Julie and my dad are first cousins. So that's how our family is connected to to Cuyama. So also, I want to go ahead, that was going to be the end of my presentation, but I also want to let you know that, and invite you all, I know it's going to be a tough and busy weekend, but the Santa Barbara Museum of Natural History is having a Chumash gathering for the public. So all of our tribes are going to go ahead and get together, and we had one. Our first one was last year. This is our second one. We're paying homage to our Native veterans, and it's open, Santa Barbara Museum, November 11th, and come down and get filled with the Chumash culture from all different areas, singing, dancing, stories, games, acorn mush. Ooh. So I want to thank you all for being here and your support. Any questions?
Could you explain the different Chumash? You said you're Marble Rico Chumash.
Mhm.
What does that mean?
Santa Barbara territory. What were they called? See, I know that actually from Ventura, I come from the village or the area of Michicanican, which is where the Ventura River is, down by where the mission is, on into the Ventura Avenue, up through Taylor Ranch, up in that area where the Ventura River flew right into. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, why? Yes.
Good question. You mentioned in one of those registrations that this child was legitimate. Would they put in non-legitimate or illegitimate if it weren't?
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. And also, the Confessiones of the Padres is just, I read it, I think I read probably like a page, and I couldn't stand it anymore. Because they were really, would ask them personal questions, and they would just shame them. And that was just, started rising up the villain in me again, so that's what happened there. It wasn't good.
have three questions.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember. We live in the area where Julie does. She's in our neighborhood.
Oh, good, yeah.
I've known Julie for years, and I've been out on the property too that was gifted.
Uh-huh.
Out there in Santa Fe. So my question is, are you aware of anybody who has done DNA analysis of, to find out what parts and what areas, might have come together in forming the Chumash?
Okay, well, all I know right now, in fact, that's Dr. John Johnson's saying his genealogy, and he's gone to Amsterdam, he's gone all over the world to try to get all this DNA stuff together. In fact, there was another gal who's really studying the DNA, which was like too complicated for me. I went to listen to her, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it can get like complicated. So, but what he did, John asked me to do the ancestry DNA. I did the ancestry DNA, my dad did the ancestry DNA. So we were able to put it together that way. Now, that's how I got mine. My dad also did the mitochondrial DNA because mitochondrial DNA is to the mother's lineage. And my dad's mom was Chumash. So that's why he asked him to do that. But that's probably as far as we've really gone, is just doing and you put it all in he showed it to me one. You put it all in this computer, and oh my gosh, people are like saying, hey, well, are you so-and-so? You look like you're related to me. Oh, and it just opens up this big can of worms to where you're related to, we're all related.
That's about it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, well, so what's going on today? Oh, well, whatever.
You showed your logo up there, and I was wondering if you could explain some of the artwork within the logo.
Sure. Okay, actually this logo was done by Moki Banuelos, Radel Banuelos. He's the artist in the tribe. Actually right here, this is our clapper sticks. The Chumash made music with clapper sticks. We didn't use drums. We used clapper sticks and rattles. In fact, Julie made this. This is seaweed bowl and a little fur and beads. She put their own little special touch to that. Yeah. And then, this symbolizes the tumult. He just did it on his own. I mean, I would think this is the tumult. They're on the board or something in the water. Yeah. There's a frog, which is our cave art. This is like a lot of the animals that were found on the cave art.
Okay. So my last question,
And the dolphin is what, that's in the Rainbow Bridge story, that's our sisters and brothers.
is there a connection with the Chumash identified with the star people?
The star people? The star people are, no, I don't know the star people. The cosmos?
Connection in other places, other beings.
Okay, great, repeat that again.
Other beings. A lot of.
What is our relationship with other beings?
Do they speak of their connection with visitations or?
We lost a lot of that, and I'm spiritual, but I'm more science. So I don't, that's Julie's thing. See, we all have our thing, Julie can talk about the sky people and the clouds and the cosmos and I'm more science, so as far as sun, the sun, the moon, grandmother moon, the sun was our big god. We worship the sun, the stars. The cosmos. There's just different. The sun and the different times of year. Yeah, we acknowledge the sun. We, you know, our New Year's is December 24th, and we celebrate winter solstice. So, you know, that for me, that's the cosmos.
Is there anybody studying the religious practices of the Chumash? What we call religious, you probably call it something else.
Spiritual.
Spiritual.
No, no, not that nobody that I know of in our tribe is putting together that information. You know, we had shamans, a lot of that stuff, and they weren't allowed to talk about it. You know, so we lost it.
The medicine people.
The medicine people, yeah, you know, the use of the tolachi, the datura, you know, that medicine to take us on the quest. You know, those herbs. Yeah, we just, you know, we lost all that. We can, yeah, we can pick it up, you know, because I know a lot of the other cultures have similarities. You know, I know that, yeah, they use datura, you know, in other ways. We can go ahead and, you know, kind of maybe incorporate, you know, that practices into ours. So, you're welcome. Thank you. I'm gonna, yes.
Oh, the Chumash language, they interviewed some of the ancient people, say 50 or 100 years ago, and they were maybe 100 years old, and they could still speak the Chumash language a
Right.
little bit. Has any of that been recorded?
You know, it was recorded. In fact, J.P. Harrington did a lot of those recordings, and I've heard them, but unfortunately, they're on wax cylinders. They weren't preserved very well, and what happens to wax cylinders? You know? So, when I was at the Smithsonian, I've actually been to the Smithsonian as well to go ahead and do some research and see some of these primary documents from my ancestors, my grandmothers and my grandfathers. I was able to hear some of that, and you can't, yeah, you can't, but there's certain, I know Matthew has been working on certain things. There's certain, you know, audio with technology these days, we've come a little bit, but some of them you just can't even, they're just ruined. Thank you. Go ahead.
Is there anything that any of us in this room could do to help you in your quest for recognition? Can we write letters? Can we sign a petition, or?
You know what? If anybody has an attorney that is educated in Native American law, or if anybody wants to become an attorney, or motivation to become an attorney in Native American law, and would love to work with a tribe that will love you and nurture you and feed you, then that's it.
It seems like the records are there.
Pardon me?
It seems like the records are there, but when you showed that one record, I thought it must have taken you several days to actually decipher it, even though it's written in English. It looked very, very hard, but you obviously have read it several times.
Yeah, oh yeah, after you read a few thousands of these entries, you just know where to go. So that's what ended up, yeah, happening. So like I said though, the continuity of a community has a breakdown in a certain area, and we just have to figure it out. Plus there's other lingo, you know, that goes into this. I mean, I'm reading these CEQA laws, I'm reading these NACPA laws, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you know. So, and if anybody's interested in the website and, you know, would like some light reading at night, then let me know. I'll give you the www address. So, yeah, that would be it. That's how we would, you know, we just have it, we're missing a window and don't have the attorney to go ahead and put that in, you know, the lingo into place to present it to. We have a lot of resources out there, but we just don't have that core nugget. Yes?
Me?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about the dictionary. Was his name Henry?
Yes, Dr.
Henry?
Dr. Henry.
And how did that get financed? How did it get researched? What happened with that?
Actually, Dr. Henry graduated from UCSB, and that was his dissertation. So, yeah, he did. That's what he started out as his dissertation. And then him and Matthew Vestudo connected, and Matthew was going through J.P. Harrington's notes. So Matthew was, there's a word for it, was going through them, reading them, asking him questions. They were collaborating and going through all these notes and they willing to put it together. Linguists are just different. They're different anthropologists, so they have a way different.
But you do have a dictionary now.
But we do have a dictionary, but Tim's such a perfectionist. We're just like, just put it out, amend it later. But I know he's doing what he's doing for a reason, so,
Okay.
yeah, but, yes, sir.
Hi. More comment. I really want to appreciate your being here and speaking on this. I found out about it through Jim Hensley's blog.
Oh,
Jim just left
nice.
for another meeting, I guess.
Okay.
But I wanted to comment because bringing some things up to date, I'm involved with the United Water Conservation District, and I'm aware of Wishtoya, a foundation that's supported by the Chumash tribe. And I know that it, as a foundation, has sued United Water Conservation District, and it has sued the City of Oxnard and the Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Board. And in my mind, it's costing residents, Ventura, Port Hueneme, Oxnard, hundreds of thousands of dollars, dealing with disputes over Santa Clara River and water issues. And I just want to say, from my perspective as a board member with United, I really think it's more important that we try and work together and find ways to support each other rather than litigate and go through lengthy and costly court battles. Because I think in our situation alone, there needs to be about $200 million that we spent in public funds, which are going to be paid by ratepayers
Okay.
sitting here today.
Now, I'm not always politically correct.
That's okay.
However, I do speak my mind. And in response to that, all this work that we have to do now, through NACRA, through CEQA, through all these agencies, we've had to, we can prove who we are. We know who we are through all these information. We've known in our spirit for our whole life who we were. And it's unfortunate that the 1970s brought out, when it was cool to be an Indian, my grandmother, who was probably almost 100% Chumash, was never wanted to be Indian. So the 70s came and we have these people that rose up. Oh, well, yeah, shoot, I'm Indian now, and it's money, things are happening, it's cool, Well, they came they were at the right place at the right time. And what they did is invaded. What they did is desecrate. What they continue to do is make waves instead of work together, make money, not give back to the community. And this is where that particular organization capitalized on.
Who is
Okay?
they?
You can go, who's they?
Yeah, who's the they you're talking?
Who's they? You didn't hear what he said?
Well, it's
Frank Rocha. Frank Rocha
Wishtoya specifically with the organization.
is the organization, and his name is Frank Rocha.
Jason Weiner is the attorney that's
Yeah, see, that's what I say right there, okay? We are getting in it's just, yeah. So it's a tough situation. It's something, not only are we fighting the government, but we're fighting the perpetrators. The perpetrators that come in and think they can go ahead and speak for us Chumash. They're not. We are a tribe. We are recognized. They're not a tribe. Wishtoya is not a tribe. Wishtoya is a so-called non-profit for the sense of a profit. He does giving back to the community. I don't know. We asked Chumash. Has he ever asked to come and collaborate with us? No, he laughed in my face and told me, ha ha ha, well, you guys aren't doing anything anyway. So that's how I feel about what's going on. That makes me want to come back even stronger and harder. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I'm doing That's why we are standing our ground. We are still here. The Chumash are still here. My family's still here. And we're making a presence. And let it be known. And if anybody has any problem with that, 805-701-5246. Okay? So anyways, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'd like to give you just a...
All right. Fine.
Beverly will pass the hat, but I'd like to mention that there was a fellow by the name of Gene Stafford who was one of the people at the museum, and his mother was 100% Chumash. And in one of the documents he left, his mother told him to never acknowledge that he was part Chumash. And, you know, we have some of the records back here, and that is really starting to see.
Yep.
And then I'd like to, we'll have Eleanor, I don't know why I did that. I've been telling my mind, don't do that.
It's okay.
Eleanor back again next year to do another Chumash talk, because I think we all find it very informative. And I'd also like to mention that we have a Dr. Colleen Delaney who's going to talk on human history on Santa Rosa Island.
Yes.
She's an archaeologist, anthropologist, and a very interesting lady, and that'll be next year, but this will follow in the
Nice.
information that you have.
Yes, and Professor Delaney is one of my mentors. She's definitely been out on, actually I went to Santa Cruz. No, we were at Santa Rosa with her, to help her with her film school. Yes.
Was furnishing her with phone numbers of people
Yes.
to get a hold of for some of the old history that we have.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and I'd like to thank all of you for coming. We'll have I'd like to remind everybody that we've got 4 spots available for the 15th of September for a tour of the port. And it was reported on the first one. Everybody on there really thoroughly enjoyed it. So if you want to get on that port tour, let me know, and you can view the history of Hueneme. So you have an idea what you're looking at when you go in there, and the history of it. Thank you so much for your participation today.
I want to put this out there. I'm Eleanor's friend from elementary school, and I'm also Native American, and we're trying to get a bus. So if anybody knows any school buses, we're going to try to do a history bus and take it to the schools.
Yeah, she's
Chumash for her. So.
My cousin made that.
You want me to come there?
No. Yeah, let's throw that away.
That's right. Make sure.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, I don't, but I have yours. Areas, thank you. I'm always looking for the right one. But
Star was born.
Hopefully it'll rub off.
yes. Oh, Birth certificates, death certificates. Have you gone to the, Amy, have you gone on vacation yet? What did you talk about? Was it next week? Right. Census. Right. Where were they born? Where did they die? Oh, okay.
Get back a little farther, and then it all starts coming together. It's taking that big step for you.
He's an interesting guy. Predict your name and
They also have some of the rocks. Yeah.
49 is showing here.
Too complicated. Yeah, but you know, don't you? It all depends on the DNA. Really like it. So I, it's interesting because I'm 63%, my dad is 63% Chumash, around 51%. How does that go? So do I talk about my DNA? Oh my God, I thought it was my DNA from my mom. So that's kind of interesting. Oh, okay.
You found it.
Yeah. It wasn't that bad.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah. Back there.
And we're adding stuff as we go. There's a lot of new
Okay, we didn't know. It says by the color you can tell
Yeah.